What's up, everybody? This is Vivo from Beach in Maine, and today I am standing with Linda Costa Cheranichit.
You got it.
I've been working on it. I wanted to make sure. I was about to mess up your maiden name before I messed up your married name.
No, you did great.
So, Linda, we've been working together for a little while.
We have.
And we've come a long way in such a short amount of time. We met at Co-Starters.
Yes.
And
which was through Creative Pinellas.
Which is through Creative Pinellas.
Which I'm really grateful
This show is through Creative Pinellas as well. And so yeah, I met you at Co-Starters, and from that point, you wanted to work with me in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
But we couldn't figure it out. So we knew that you had a show coming up, or I learned that you had a show coming up, so I wanted to help you out with that show. So thank you for the opportunity to work with you and to be able to do the work that I like to do, which is work with artists and other creatives and all creatives to help them actualize not just their work, but all the feelings and emotions and the work behind getting those type of things done. So thank you for taking the time with me today.
Thank you so much for everything you do.
It's dope. It's dope. So let's get into it, because I got a ton of questions. Talk to me about the process of, even from the point that we met, even before that point where you got started with Creative Pinellas, you got the grant, and what was that whole process like even before we met? Let's start there. So what was that process like before we met, and you know now that you have grant money to put on a show?
Yes.
How scary was that? How cumbersome was that?
I think it was scary up until that moment where we drew the curtains back and had folks come into the space here and now. So, but I think it's because everything about the process was very new to me. You know, this is the first time that I've gotten a grant on my own.
Right.
I've been blessed enough to, in Atlanta, have creative work with fellow creatives and in collaboration where we'd attained a grant before, but that was a very different process because I kind of had folks who had already attained that kind of goal on their own, guiding us through it. Right. So I had a lot of support and guidance through that process. Whereas this one, I really had to start from scratch. And I think it's all tied together with the storyline behind the work. I think that it basically comes down to, within the last year and a half, going through this journey of self-love and acceptance, and trying to figure out and define what I do want, being free enough to experiment till I figure it out. If I don't really know what it is that I want, kind of being free enough as an artist to experiment with that idea, believing in myself enough to reach for goals that seem unattainable, and being interdependent enough, as you are such an example of that, because I really had to take all the help you had to give me. You had so much help you gave me, but we were very new to each other, and I think allowing you in to support me in the ways I absolutely needed to be supported in that moment was new too. So all of this has been really new terrain of self-discovery. But definitely just applying to this really helped to reveal who I am, who I've been, what I've done. It was really like having to own the things I'd already attained in my career and look at myself in a mirror that was empowering. Because I think we live in our heads a lot, and sometimes you don't feel like that amazing artist that's done this and that. So I needed that. I needed to look at myself and then present myself to an organization.
So let's step back just a little bit, because I did a horrible job introducing what the hell it is that you actually do.
That's okay.
That you actually got this grant for, and I love the fact that there's people in here and there's like some life happening right now.
Absolutely.
You're a long exposure photographer.
Yes.
Primarily in portraits.
Absolutely.
And getting into this space with people and kind of having this spiritual kind of connection with them to be able to produce not just a photograph or a portrait, but this energy that's surrounding this person that you're spending time and pulling out of that person. Talk to me a little bit more about how that works.
First of all, thank you for getting it so eloquently, because I think that's the hardest part about being the kind of creative that I am, is being able to define for others what I am, what I do, and how it can enrich their lives and be of value to them, be a service to them. So for you to get that, I'm basically distilling the energy of the individual, the soul,
Right.
you know, the vibration that comes from them in this creative process that's a little strange,
Right.
you know. It really is a ritual, you know. So I do long exposure photography. I learned it at Barry University. They took us out to the beach at night in Miami, gave us some flashlights, and we played around. And I just kind of fell in love with the absolute freedom that you have. Photography at first was this rigid, structured thing where I
Super
click
technical.
and I get the thing that's in front of me, right? So for me to be able to be an artist and a photographer simultaneously, in the sense of creating a new reality,
Right.
you know, designing visual aspects to the image that are not present,
Right.
that blew my mind. And it's never going to bore me. This particular art form will never bore me, even though it's still, because I try to explain that I'm basically capturing a short film that's all in one frame.
Right.
You know, it's all in one frame. It's a condensed energy reading, if you will, because I'm capturing you. Your energy keeps emitting. Your vibration keeps coming at the camera in that darkness.
And that was one of the dopest things I experienced when you did my portrait.
Yeah,
that
was fun.
And it was fun. I liked that
I
day.
had fun.
And even just leading up to it, finding the space and figuring the whole thing out. But my favorite part was I'm super interested in the way, not just the world works, but the way like the spiritual world works and the way that we work from this intuitive standpoint. And where does that energy come from, right? Where does that drive come from? So being able to sit in that room and we talked first. We talked about experiences that we had at separate times in the same city, some of the same people that we knew. You're Brazilian, I'm not, but I did capoeira, which is heavily influenced.
You're still an Angoleiro.
still doing my thing, but like sitting in that room and then being able to feel the energy like coming out, right? And then having you capture that via light and express that via light was super dope, because you walked into it with an idea of what you kind of wanted to do or what you were shooting for, but then part of it kind of transformed in the middle of it. I think so. I think that's the most interesting part about the work that you do, because I'm a believer in. I love art. I support artists, but I think it's the work the process of the work more so than the finished product of the work. So talk to me a little bit about, do you enjoy that process, and then how do you make people comfortable sitting in that space, sitting still for so long to be able to do multiple 5-6 minute shots? What's that?
Again, you hit the nail on the head of what my work is about for me, which is this is just a fun end result of a thing that really happens between me and you.
Right.
And it can only happen between me and you in that space. And photography is a capturing of a moment, but light painting, it allows for a much longer moment between us. And especially if I'm going to be creating a universe around you that is inspired by your energy, I have to sit with you. I have to know you.
Right.
And I can only know you if you trust me.
Yeah.
So I think that the greatest gift that I bring to my process, especially when working with others, is that I create an atmosphere of comfort, of trust. And I'm very frank, I'm very authentic, I'm very direct, but I'm also very nurturing, I'm very gentle. And I check in a lot to make sure that you're comfortable where you are, that this defines you, that these are the things, these are the colors, these are the textures, this is a space, these are the items that define your energy, because I don't want to capture something that's not you. And it's so important to me to capture the true essence of you, because that's all I'm really trying to do, is show you back to yourself in all your power.
One thing I found that was interesting is before we did my portrait, we talked a little bit, because we were talking about what kind of show you're going to do, how you're going to go about doing that show. So we just talked a little bit about, we had a little bit of exchange about leading up to that portrait. So you knew some things about me. So you brought some props that might have triggered some ideas or triggered some thoughts and things like that. And I thought that was a really, really smart thing to do. at least just be able to gather some information about that person so that you can make them comfortable in that space and start breaking down some of those barriers and some of those walls to kind of break that ice. All right. So that being said, we have somewhat of a relationship established at this point. We know that you're moving into a show. Talk to me about that process. Talk to me about our working together. What was helpful about that?
So first and foremost, again, I'm really grateful to Creative Pinellas for not only affording me a grant where I could create brand new work, where I could challenge myself and create something of meaning to me and turn the camera on me, which is very difficult because I have to trust myself and I don't know if I'm there yet with me.
You're getting
I can do that for you guys, right?
There.
But it's hard.
Shout
it's always
out to
hard.
Creative Pinellas because they're doing
hard.
such a dope job at bringing artists in and supporting artists. So big up to Creative Pinellas and the whole staff over there. Great work.
And they created the opportunity for co-starters, which is how we met.
Right.
And I just know that day you came and you spoke authentically, you spoke warmly, you spoke about things that connected for me about the greater path that art is supposed to take, in my opinion. And you spoke about community and supporting creatives. And that's something I'm trying to figure out is what am I beyond a light painter? And I'm also a performance artist. You know, I'm also dabbling in animating my work. I'm trying to create an atmosphere of spiritual reflection in my creative process. I'm trusting that there's some sort of channeling that happens that's outside of my control, that you're emitting a vibration that I'm capturing and being inspired by, whether I understand it or not. Right. You know, but that I'm also creating and manifesting things with the tools and effects that I teach myself through the process, through the repetitive experience. So meeting you was so timely and so aligned, and I just knew that I could learn from engaging, and that we could likely assist each other in long-term goals. And I wanted to be an asset to whatever you're doing because I could see that you were walking the same path in wanting to create community and support creatives and uplift them. So I'm really grateful to Creative Pinellas. I'm really grateful to co-starters for that. So for me, working with you was literally like having an angel being sent down to earth. And I know you don't like when I talk like this, but for real, like I can't be any less than honest and frank that you supported me in all the ways that I could not be supported otherwise.
But you took the step, and that was important.
I did.
So
I outreached.
that was the biggest step. And then a lot of times, being self-aware enough to ask for help is a big thing. You know, so taking that step and coming into that space and being like, I don't know how he's going to receive this, or you don't know the outcome of it, but still taking that step. That's important.
Well, I needed to engage you in some way. I knew that we had some sort of like energy that was going towards a direction. I had no idea it had to do with this. And it wasn't until it was your consistency that allowed me to let you in, because I frankly was, you know, I'm an artist. I definitely have my journey, and a lot of this work has to do with my emotional journey. And I was in a dark moment where I was just not in a safe space with my emotions, going through a lot of the darker sides of my emotions and putting that out in the work in a way that was challenging me. I was having a hard time. Like, is this what my definition is? Is this the best that I can do? Is this how I want to present myself to such a large audience for the first time? Like, so I was really challenged with where the work was going. I saw that it was going a different direction. And what you brought to the table was that you were a consistent person checking in. You reminded me that I had the right and the full authority of defining the path that I was walking, and that I had to trust my instinct and my purpose. And you said that consistently enough that I eventually it really registered for me, like, I just got to keep at it, and it's going to come through.
I'm the king of redundant.
Yeah. No.
I'm redundant as
hell. It always felt fresh. You just were very consistent, very present.
Right.
In a moment where I really needed the encouragement, the permission, and the reflection. I think that you provide for me what I hope I provide for my subjects. You kept reflecting back what you saw.
Right.
And you're like, you think you're in a bad place. You think you're dealing with these negative feelings and these negative thoughts. You're in a moment of creation. Keep creating.
Right.
go back to the drawing board.
So that's the
Trust your
biggest part, is like
process,
staying in that action
Yes.
and keep moving forward.
And trusting,
And with that, with the trusting part, I came into your space even before we started working together towards your show, knowing that you had a mentor. And my biggest thing with being invited into that space was making sure that I wasn't stepping on the toes of your mentor as well.
Right. And she's fantastic. Her name's Selena Roman,
yeah.
and she was provided by Creative Pinellas as well. So big shout out to Selena, who this whole image couldn't have happened without, in fact. So let's speak up about Selena just for a moment, because I need to make sure she knows she's loved. This tinsel right here, I've never dealt with tinsel this big before. I've always worked with tinsel as a way to create fire without having to have fire, as far as like tools, kind of a type of paintbrush, a type of ink that I use within the context of my visual work. And she had these curtains of tinsel that she dropped down in bundles and showed me. And I started picking them up and lifting them up, and it created all this texture and all this fire in these 3 images here. And I couldn't have done that without her. This shirt is her shirt. This is in her studio. So like, just to be able to create this image, which was one of the hardest images. This little series right here is about feeling joy unapologetically. It's about being allowed to feel fulfilled in my own skin and not need another to fulfill me. And that's
it seemed like she did a good job of standing in that space and helping you stay true to that as well too. So
she supported me in all the ways. She gave me resources. She gave me great advice, absolute guidance, and such a busy woman, and still made time for me. So I'm really grateful for that.
So shout out to Selena for that.
Yeah, shout out to Selena Roman.
And I was glad to be able to get to meet
She's
her
fantastic.
because it was just on my side. I don't want to step on her toes because I'm completely on the outside of this thing, right? So what's the best way for me to help you and not get in her way as well? Which can be stressful from an artist standpoint, because sometimes we don't like to collide with each other.
Yes.
Speaking of stress, leading up to the show, in the last couple of weeks, because you knew it was coming. And my whole thing was, let's just get to the show. You got to get to the show, and you got to get there with all the work that you feel good about.
Yes.
Talk about that, the ups and downs. Talk about some of the stressors of getting to this point. What were some of the most stressful things getting here?
Being structured. I think that what I need to work on, what this really revealed for me about my creative process, is that I need to be more free to play and more free to explore, but that I also have to be more consistent and more structured as a professional artist. If I want to continue to pursue that as the path, that I really need to bring myself to the table more often and learn more about the process of getting the prints made and what's appropriate for the setting that I'm in, who I can work with and partner with resource-wise that's affordable, that's within my budget. Where can I reach out for support when I'm feeling doubt, when I need reassurance, when I need guidance, when I need resources, when I need somebody to teach me basics of Photoshop all over again. You know what I mean?
You mean like me trying to force you?
Yes. You're like, just check the videos. Just watch the videos. I'm like, I ain't got time for videos.
Learn your craft. Learn your craft.
Yes.
Some more.
Learning my craft. That's what I'm learning.
And to continue to learn it, right?
That I can never know enough, and that I'm more empowered and more that I can create more fulfilling and more authentic work the more that I'm aware of those parameters. Yeah.
Last question. What advice do you have for the people following you, for artists, light photographers, or long exposure photographers following you, primarily women photographers? What advice do you have for them starting out and then rising to this point and pushing through to this point?
Absolutely. Just one of the greatest things that Selena taught me was that you don't have to know everything, that you don't have to know what it's about even, that you just have to keep at it. So keep at it. Keep trying to figure out what it means to be an artist to you. Keep trying to define for yourself what appeals to you. Quit trying to define yourself by the way that others are doing it. Because I think that to be truly creative, you've got to come original. You've got to come with your own energy. So keep trying to figure out what your particular gift is,
Right.
regardless of your medium,
Yeah,
regardless
yeah.
of whether you're a light painter or whether you're, a regular photographer or filmmaker or sculptor, whatever. Just keep trying to figure out, what am I really trying to say, and keep trying to say it.
Absolutely.
Keep just pushing into it. I think it leads you places, whether it brings you into venues like this and finds you funds, or whether it leads you to realizations about who you are and where you're going in life. I think that's the purpose of creativity, is to find solutions to our inner battles, right?
I think that's dope.
Yeah.
I look forward to more opportunities for us to sit down and tell more of your stories, especially maybe in this venue or other venues, because I want to be able to do and bring stories like this to more people. And it's helpful for me too to learn. And I think it just strengthens our relationships and our communities as creatives, and allows us to know that there's other people out there. So tell the people where to find you online right now, so they know who you are and where you are, for the ones that don't know.
Absolutely. So lindacostaphotography.com is my website. I am on Instagram at Linda Costa Photography. I'm on Facebook, Linda Costa Photography page, or you can find my personal, Linda Costa Cheranichit. I've got lots of ways for you to access me. I'm also in support of everything Beach and Maine is all about. So please check out Brian and his work. I want you guys to know that what he offers is a really unique and valuable asset to any creative, because he's coming from a really human place. He really wants to know you and your vision, and he just wants to help you get there. And I think that that's an amazing thing to do nowadays, to just completely give your life up to supporting the dreams of others to come true. I think creatives need that. So I'm really grateful that he's a resource we have here in Pinellas County. And you should reach out to him as well. And I'm also at the Sharpie Gallery on Treasure Island, so please come out and visit me and Georgia
I love
Hardage.
that little space.
At the Sharpie Gallery, we'll be doing some events coming up in October, so keep an eye out for that.
That's awesome.
Yay.
Everybody, thank you very much. This is Brian Volaton again from Beach and Maine. I am at Creative Pinellas right now with Linda Costa Cheranichit, and this is another episode of what I'm calling Small Talks.
Small Talks, yay.
By Beach and Maine. Thank you for checking it out.
Thank you.
Peace.